Hey there, all you beautiful Broadway babies! Welcome back to Broadway by Ghostlight. I'm Mark Bonanni, and this is episode 44 of Broadway Jeopardy. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, click that button now so you'll never miss an episode. I've got 26 all-new clues ready for you this week, so without further ado, let's jump right into this week's game. This is Broadway Jeopardy! Looking at the categories for today's game, we start off as always with last week's Final Jeopardy category, which is World War II, looking at some musicals set during the Second World War. After that, we have Based on a TV Show, looking at some shows based on various TV shows. Then it's Title Songs, looking at some shows that feature a title number. That's followed by the Eugene O'Neill Theater, taking a look at some shows that have opened at that Broadway house. And last but not least, we have American Dad, continuing our look at some musical references in animated TV shows with American Dad from Family Guy creator Seth MacFarlane. And we end with the Final Jeopardy round, so make sure and keep track of your scores so you can bet big on that final clue. We start off, of course, with the $200 round, or the Overture round as I call it, where the questions are on the easier side to help you get some fake dough before I cook you later with the harder questions. Starting off in the World War II category, your first $200 clue is... This Rodgers and Hammerstein classic features the songs A Cockeyed Optimist, There Is Nothing Like a Dame, and Some Enchanted Evening. What is South Pacific? Based on several stories from James A. Michener's Pulitzer Prize-winning novel Tales of the South Pacific, the Rodgers and Hammerstein musical also won the Pulitzer Prize for Drama in 1950 on top of its 10 Tony Award wins. Moving on to the Based on a TV Show category, your next $200 clue is... Besides the title character, whose animated TV show has been on the air since 1999, this musical also features a starfish, a crab, and a squirrel. What is SpongeBob SquarePants? The 2017 musical features a book by Kyle Jarrow and a score by a bevy of well-known music icons, with songs by Panic at the Disco, John Legend, They Might Be Giants, Sarah Bareilles, and Cyndi Lauper, to name just a few. Looking at a title song now, the $200 clue there is... This film-turned-musical with a bop of a title tune is set in a small town where dancing has been made illegal. What is Footloose? The Broadway musical version of the classic 1984 film opened at the Richard Rodgers Theater in October of 1998 and ran until the summer of 2000, racking up a little over 700 performances. All the hit songs from the film were incorporated into the stage show, like the title song, as well as Almost Paradise, Holding Out for a Hero, and Let's Hear It for the Boy.
I hit the ceiling, or else I'll tear up this town. Tonight I got it cut loose, pick up the Sunday shoes.
Taking our seats at the Eugene O'Neill Theater brings us the $200 clue. This Tony-winning alt-rock musical from Duncan Sheik and Steven Sater featured a mostly young cast, including Jonathan Groff and Leah Michele. What is Spring Awakening? The 2006 musical was very controversial at the time. I worked merch for the original production, and I remember people walking out often, especially towards the beginning of the run, and they were very offended. And finishing off the Overture round in the American Dad category for $200, name the musical being parodied in this video clue. What is Grease? This is from episode 7 of the show's 17th season called Homewrecker, where the married Stan and Francine are very secure in their marriage, as evidenced by the We Go Together parody, but things go sideways when they try to remodel their kitchen.
Stop! Where's Roger? I left in the middle of the song. It turned into all gibberish and I won't be a part of it.
I hope you all bop-shabopped that first round. Let's move on to the only slightly harder $400 round now. Circling back to World War II, your first $400 clue is... This is the name of Liesel's boyfriend who's on the wrong side of history in The Sound of Music. Who is Rolf? Liesel's 17-year-old boyfriend, who's going on 18, is actually a tad more sympathetic in the original stage musical than in the famous film version. I mean, he's still a Nazi, so not too sympathetic, but he does clearly care about Liesel and her family more in the stage play than in the film. Grab the remote for the based on a TV show category and the $400 clue. Ye honk! This brilliant 2-season show from creator Cinco Paul just had its stage adaptation premiere at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. What is Schmigadoon? Yes, the best TV show ever finally made the leap to the stage at the Kennedy Center, before, that venue was overrun with idiots. The stage version of Schmigadoon covers all of season 1 of the Apple TV Plus show, and I know some of you have asked in comments. I was not able to see it in DC. I was very upset about that, still pretty upset about it, but hopefully the stage musical will be seen again, and hopefully closer to my neck of the woods. The $400 clue in the title songs category is... This one-word musical didn't have a title song until Frankie Valli sang one in the opening credits of the beloved film version. What is Grease? Yes, the song that reminded you over and over again that Grease is the word was not in the original stage production. The song, performed by Frankie Valli over the opening and closing credits, was not written by the musical's composer Jim Jacobs and Warren Casey, but instead was written by Bee Gees member Barry Gibb. Frankie Valli was actually originally offered the role of Teen Angel in the film version of Grease, but chose to record the title song instead, which gave a big jolt to the music legend's career during a slump. Over at the Eugene O'Neill Theater, your next $400 clue is... In the long-running The Book of Mormon, the musical opens with the ensemble singing this one-word song. What is Hello? The show opens at the Mormon Missionary Training Facility, where a new batch of missionaries are practicing their doorbell ringing skills before they find out where they'll be sent on their missions.
Hello, my name is Elder Smith, and can I leave this book with you for you to just peruse?
Hello! Hello! Hello!
And for $400, name the show being parodied in this video clue from American Dad. What is Stomp? This is from season 16, episode 12, called Stomp Le Monde. In this episode, Stan is talked into buying the rights to the long-running off-Broadway show Stomp.
I'm offering you the North American rights to the off-Broadway show Stomp, all for the low price of...
I will pay whatever you want.
Stumping right into the $600 round now. Back at the World War II category, the $600 clue there is... This live-action Disney film turned stage musical is about an apprentice witch who takes in 3 displaced children in England during the war. What is Bedknobs and Broomsticks? The wonderful film starring Angela Lansbury and David Tomlinson was adapted to the stage in England in 2021.
Blimey! She's actually a witch!
After all, it's a step in the right direction. It's a step in the right direction after all.
The $600 clue in the based on a TV show category is... This new TV to stage adaptation follows actress Ivy Lynn as she prepares to open a musical about icon Marilyn Monroe. What is Smash? Apparently, the stage show is not a direct adaptation of the TV show Smash, which I was pretty surprised to learn. Though it's still about the creation of a musical about Marilyn Monroe, of course. The musical has its opening night tonight on Broadway, which is what inspired this whole category, and I can't wait to see what the reviews are like. Humming along to the title song category gives us the $600 clue. The location named in this show's title song, one that New Yorkers are very familiar with, is described as naughty, bawdy, gaudy, and sporty. What is 42nd Street? One of the most successful film-to-stage adaptations of all time, the original 1933 film musical directed by Busby Berkeley opened on Broadway in summer of 1980 and ran until January of 1989, playing almost 3,500 performances. A 2001 revival would also be a hit, playing for over 3 years and winning the 2001 Tony for Best Revival. Over at the Eugene O'Neill Theater, your next $600 clue is the 2005 revival of Sweeney Todd, directed by John Doyle, starred this Broadway legend as Mrs. Lovett. Who is Patti LuPone? For the John Doyle revival, all the actors were also the orchestra, a gimmick that's been used many times over the years, but this was the first major one that at least I recall, and quite a departure from the usual big orchestra sound that many expect from Sweeney Todd. Though, as sad as some were to not have a giant orchestra, at least we got to see Patti LuPone brilliantly playing Mrs. Lovett while playing a big old tuba, an image I shan't forget anytime soon. And looking at another musical parody in the American Dad category, for $600, name the musical being spoofed in this video clue.
You can talk?
I can do a whole lot more than talk, baby. Yeah, don't worry so much. Just give the water a touch. Nobody has to know.
What is Little Shop of Horrors? The entire season 8 opening episode is a parody of Little Shop. In the episode, Stan needs to relax and buys a hot tub from the appropriately named Little Shop of Hot Tubs. But of course, the hot tub he buys is possessed and attempts to kill everyone. The possessed hot tub in the musical episode is voiced by singer CeeLo Green.
Well, if it isn't Francine, why don't you get in the tub?
Who said that?
Me, baby. Come on, get in the tub.
What are you?
It's time to really turn up the difficulty now with the $800 round. But before we do, please, oh pretty please, if you're enjoying this week's game, take the second and hit that like button for me. It really does help with the almighty YouTube algorithm getting these videos shown to more fine folks like yourselves, but also makes me feel like $1,000,000 fake dollars. Thanks everyone, I really do appreciate it. Okay, let's keep on keeping on. Fighting our way back to the World War II category, your first $800 clue is... in the wartime set On the Town, Sailor Gaby is instantly taken with a subway photo of Ivy Smith, who's been bestowed this title for the month. What is Miss Turnstiles is the right response. From the 1940s all the way to the 1970s, New York would select a Miss Subway each month, and the hometown girl selected would become a low-level local celebrity for the month. This is borrowed by the creators of On the Town, who were actually not allowed to use the term Miss Subway, so they instead named her Miss Turnstiles. Looking at a classic sitcom in the based on a TV show category gives us the $800 clue. In a musical adaptation of the 50-set sitcom Happy Days, which premiered regionally in 2007, we see Fonzie and the gang try to save this beloved diner and hangout. What is Arnold's? Happy Days the musical first premiered at the Goodspeed Opera House in Connecticut in 2007, and then played New Jersey's Paper Mill Playhouse that same year. As the clue stated, Fonzie, Richie, Potsy, Chachi, and the rest all try to save Arnold's from being turned into a mall. The book for the musical was by Gary Marshall, who created the original TV show, and the score was by songwriter Paul Williams, who wrote several hit songs, including We've Only Just Begun for the Carpenters, Evergreen for Barbra Streisand, and Rainbow Connection for Kermit the Frog. Get out your sheet music for the title songs category, where we have a daily double. Remember, how it works here on Broadway Jeopardy is you answer the first part of the question, you get the $800, answer the slightly more difficult part 2, and you double that to $1,600. Okay, your two-part $800 clue is... in the Broadway version of the iconic title song Hello Dolly, this is the first person that Dolly says hello to. For double points, this is the first person Dolly says hello to in the film version of the song. Who is Harry is the answer to part 1, and the answer for part 2 is who is Rudy. Harry is one of the many waiters that Dolly greets when she descends the stairs at the Harmonia Gardens restaurant. Not sure why they needed to change it for the film version, but it does make sense as Rudy is referring to Rudolph, the maitre d' of the restaurant. The song, of course, was famously recorded by jazz legend Louis Armstrong before the show's opening, and it became a smash hit, helping to bring the show to the attention of the entire country, but would also end up being Louis Armstrong's biggest single in his career, topping the charts at #1 and winning him the Grammy for Song of the Year. The $800 clue in the Eugene O'Neill Theater category is... this 90s jukebox musical featuring the hit songs of Louis Jordan was titled Five Guys Named This. What is Mo? Five Guys Named Mo began as a short film in 1943, which starred saxophonist and songwriter Louis Jordan, who was known then as the king of the jukebox from the 1930s up until the 1950s. The musical expanded the short film and saw a character named Nomax, with his girlfriend having left him, turn on a radio to some 1930s tunes, and the titular Moes come out of the radio to comfort him. The five Moes are named Big Mo, Little Mo, Four-Eyed Mo, Eat Mo, and No Mo. The musical first began in London, where it was a hit and ran for 6 years. The show transferred to Broadway in 1992, running over a year there. And for the $800 video clue in the American Dad category, name the show this song parody is from.
If they could see you now out on this party boat cruise, living the life and huffing diesel fumes, the only thing that we have to do is watch the temperature gauge and make it stay in the blue.
What is Sweet Charity? Yes, the song being parodied here is If My Friends Could See Me Now from Sweet Charity, but American Dad is actually not parodying the show Sweet Charity here, but rather a commercial that used the song. There was a commercial for Carnival Cruise Line that featured Kathy Lee Gifford singing the show tune that ran in the 1990s.
If they could see you now out on a friendship cruise, eating fancy food and doing what you choose, I'd like your friends back home to get a good look at the first-rate Carnival cruise that you took.
And now we've reached the apex of the episode, the big show, the main event. It's the $1,000 round. Let me hear that dramatic music. Good luck, players. Back one last time at the World War II category, your first $1,000 clue is... this short-lived musical from Jerry Herman was based on the play Jacobowski and the Colonel and starred Joel Grey. What is the Grand Tour? As the clue stated, the Grand Tour boasted a score by Jerry Herman and starred Joel Grey as S.L. Jacobowski, an eternally optimistic Polish man of Jewish faith who owned a car but cannot drive, and featured Ron Holgate as the anti-Semitic Colonel Stravinsky, who can drive but has no car. The unlikely pair, along with the Colonel's girlfriend, decide to team up and set out to avoid the oncoming Nazi invasion. The show, particularly the score and Joel Grey's performance, were praised, and some have suggested that the show failed not due to a lack of quality, but rather it just opened the same season as more exciting fare like Sweeney Todd and the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. Whatever the reason, the Grand Tour only played 17 previews and 61 performances, the lowest official performance count for any Jerry Herman musical. Looking at a TV miniseries now in the based on a TV show category with the $1,000 clue. A musical version of this 1980 Japan set miniseries, as well as James Clavell's original novel of the same name, flopped on Broadway in 1990. What is Shogun? Yes, if you've seen the recent TV miniseries remake of Shogun, which is of course based on the same source material as the musical, you might be pretty surprised to learn that there was a Broadway musical adaptation of the property. When the big scale musical first opened pre-Broadway, it boasted 38 cast members, well over 300 costumes, and a 3.5+ hour runtime, and was almost entirely sung through to boot. For Broadway though, a lot of that music was cut and turned into spoken dialogue, and the runtime was greatly reduced. But besides the impressive special effects, which apparently included depictions of an earthquake, a shipwreck, and a massive battle on horseback in the snow, the show was deemed too convoluted and it closed after less than 3 months.
Breathtaking beauty, epic grandeur, James Clavell's Shogun, the spectacular musical adventure. Shogun, the love story. Shogun on Broadway.
The $1,000 clue in the title songs category is... The character of Billy sings the title song of this show, which was written by Steve Martin and Edie Brickell. What is Bright Star? Bright Star was a short-lived show from 2016, loosely based on the true story of the Iron Mountain Baby, an infant that was found in a piece of luggage after being thrown from a moving train. The musical starred Carmen Cusack, AJ Shively, and Paul Alexander Nolan, and despite developing a cult fan base and Steve Martin himself regularly appearing in the orchestra with his banjo and playing during the show, the musical was forced to close after only 109 performances. Our last trip to the Eugene O'Neill Theater for $1,000 is... This short-lived jukebox musical, featuring the music of the Beach Boys, was about a group of New England high schoolers on a road trip to California. What is Good Vibrations? Good Vibrations ran at the Eugene O'Neill Theater from February to April of 2005 and starred Kate Reinders, David Larson, and Titus Burgess. The show was not good, and I speak from having seen it. In fact, it was such a contrived show that it really came to symbolize everything wrong with the concept of jukebox musicals, and I firmly believe that Good Vibrations' Bad Vibes not only closed itself, but another musical that opened around the same time, All Shook Up, with the music of Elvis. I think All Shook Up was a pretty darn good show, but Good Vibrations sort of soured everyone to jukebox musicals at the time, and in fact may have been the very end of the fad until Jersey Boys opened the next season and worked so well that producers are still trying to recreate its success 20 years later. And the curtain call video clue in the American Dad category, for $1,000, name the song being parodied in this clip.
Stupid printer didn't get me down, drove out of town, look who I found. Nick and Cass, they're the in-laws of my dreams. Caucasian folks of well-off means, love the place I'm in, no more Mandarin.
What is Dance 10 Looks 3 from A Chorus Line? Though the song often goes by another name, which I can't say in this family-friendly game. But this parody is from Season 3, Episode 4 of American Dad, where Stan is fed up with his wife's adopted parents and sings this very un-PC parody.
Steaks and cash, shooting rolls of paper towels as they enunciate their vowels. God, I'm happy, hey, found a home today. Ducks and chopsticks, boundaries they don't give a hoot. Farting in my bathing suit. Who needs that, Stan? Who needs that, Stan?
And with that, we've reached the final Jeopardy round, my friends. Time to tally up those scores and decide how much you want to wager in the category eyes on the prize, looking at some shows with some sort of contest or sweepstakes. Okay, has everyone made their wagers? Alexandra? Casey? Xander? Okay, here is your final clue. In Annie Get Your Gun, in order to make Annie lose the big shooting match against Frank Butler, the characters of Charlie Davenport and this real-life Native American chief bend the sights on Annie's guns. Who is Chief Sitting Bull? Chief Sitting Bull was a real-life leader of the Lakota tribe who led his people to a major victory against Colonel Custer at the Battle of Little Bighorn. Later in life, he did indeed join Buffalo Bill's Wild West stunt show where he met the real-life Annie Oakley and Frank Butler. But hopefully he didn't actually convince Annie to throw any kind of shooting match so Frank, wouldn't have his ego bruised and he would marry her. And that's this week's game! How did you all make out this week? Do you wish your friends could see you now, or did your sights get bent? Be sure to let me know in the comments. I always love hearing from you guys and seeing your scores. We're beginning to approach a year's worth of episodes, holy moly, and it literally would not be possible without the support of my wonderful patrons on Patreon. I love you all dearly, and not just these incredible people seen here, but all my patrons at every level. Thank you all so much. If you want to join in the fun and help support the channel, there is a link in the video description to my Patreon as well as to my merch shop. Another great way to support the channel is to share these videos far and wide. It really does go a long way to helping the channel. If you want to connect with me outside of YouTube, you can find me over on Blue Sky. I'll be back next week with episode 45, but until then, this is Broadway by Ghostlight. I'm Mark Bonanni. Thanks for playing.
Bye, have a beautiful time.